Welcome to Stormwatch by Grey Noise Intelligence. Each week, we drop the latest information on what's happening at Grey Noise, and we also take a look at a roundup of important and timely cybersecurity topics. We also toss out some expert opinions. I mean, that's in scare quotes for me, and the occasional conspiracy theory, which is mostly me.
Sometimes it's alien talk. I don't know.
Sometimes aliens, according to ChatGPT, anyway. So I am Bob Brutus, and with me are my co-hosts, Kimber. Kimber, good morning.
Good morning.
What part of the planet are you on in around today?
You know, I am in Tucson, Arizona, or as they say here, Tucson, Arizona. That is a what we do in the shadows joke, but I think
see.
that every time
Oh,
I
yeah.
pull up into town. There's even a mural of it.
Is it just like the song? Is it such a fine sight to see, like the song says?
It is.
Very cool. I don't know a lot of modern songs, but I know all the old ones, and that's one of the ones I learned.
You were about to say that was a modern song.
No, it's not. No. I learned that. That was one of the first songs I learned on the guitar. Anyway, so thank you, Kimber, for getting up early, and to Eric, who made a comment about how early this was, and he didn't feel like logging in to post snark at us. If Kimber can wake up and get on this and do this, you can do it too, Eric. Anyway,
Oh, listeners already.
Oh yeah, 100%. If they're gonna whine, especially the left coasters, I'm totally gonna do that. And Glenn, so I understand. First of all, welcome, and I thank you for also joining. I understand you had a near-death experience though recently.
Technically, I kind of sort of was almost hit by lightning Sunday night.
You gotta try harder, man. I gotta try so much harder.
Yeah, you were off about like maybe 100 feet.
This is a weird curse, Glenn. What do you think caused this curse of?
I think it's something from a previous life because I feel pretty good about this life. I don't know, but no, it was interesting. Yeah, it was. Luckily, I was in a car, so like it didn't like knock me over or anything. But it was obviously insanely bright, insanely loud, and then just seeing like the embers like flying. It was a weird experience, but thankfully like nothing happened. Nothing bad happened other than, oh my God, that was really close to me. But I'm here. You missed, Bob. You missed.
Well, third time's a charm.
Yeah, I know, right? Yeah.
And you did give me enough of an estimate that we can fine tune that whole thing for the next time. So we'll be good for that. And making
you sent me the new iPhone with the satellite tracker.
This is actually why I tried to get that one. Yeah, I'm sorry.
Okay.
But yeah, it's the thing. The orbital weapons platforms come next if I fail with the lightning next time. So making all this possible, and the only reason it goes as smoothly as it does is our amazing Overwatch Ashley. Good morning, Ashley. And so now it is time to dig into today's topics, and I'm going to switch over to the other thing. And if you're wondering why for folks that have been listening for the past 16 weeks, 16 episodes at least, 16 guys, 16, we have 16 of these things, is like the reason why it's a little more formal is because we are also now a podcast. Oh, that's right. That is right. Stormwatch is also now available everywhere podcasts are sold or just given away for free. This is morning, Maya. Good morning from Atlanta, Georgia. It's actually got to be a gorgeous fall thing down.
Hey, that's
Atlanta,
the first
Georgia,
time we got a name from a LinkedIn comment.
That's amazing. So maybe Microsoft heard our cries.
Improvements are happening. Anyway,
that is cool. I hope fall is going really well down there, Maya, for you.
Squirrel. This is a squirrel moment.
It is. We have some people like us. They really like us. Anyway, you can also get for all proper nerds, which is every listener, you can just get the RSS feed for the podcast from stormwatch.libsyn.com. Thank you to Donna and our design team for the epic graphic for this thing. I melted when Donna posted that the other day. This was a beautiful thing.
I actually asked some background. On Spotify. I know that you're kind of anti-establishment, open source, all the things, Bob, but like
it's on Spotify.
Really cool that it's on Spotify.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah. I just a quick note, like, because I looked at this graphic, and if you look at it like really closely, like there's a lot of detail. Like there's a mesh on the mic, there's a light.
Oh, Donna's amazing. Yeah, Donna's
I actually
amazing.
asked her because I was like, did you do this? Which was kind of maybe offensive, which I apologize for that. But then so she showed me the file of like how she got there. Anyway, like I'm fascinated with other people's crafts. So anyway, it's cool. Just shout out.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. And it's okay. It is a little cool that we're on Spotify. I will agree with that. I just so everyone knows we are on Rogan's heels. We are totally going to surpass Rogan, I think. So that'd be good. Perhaps not, although at least mentally we're going to surpass Rogan. Anyway, so please listen there. And like we already have a bunch of downloads, which isn't just all me. So that's pretty cool. This is a lot of fun doing. I might do a breakdown of how we actually do this at some point in case other folks are interested in doing that. And I have no idea what that noise was. So the thing that we need to start off with, so beyond the fact that we have this cool podcast, is Kimber, you spent some time at, maybe this is one reason why you're in Arizona at LabsCon. Is that right?
I did, yeah. It was a amazing conference, and for those who are not in the know about it, which is fine, it was a very small conference, but it is Sentinel One's labs team put on. It's for threat intelligence information sharing. One of the things that's really cool that I appreciate is, well, for one, it's small. I think the capacity was 170 people.
Oh,
And then the other thing on top of that is there were a lot of off the record talks. So, of course, the coolest talks I cannot tell you. But it's intelligence based, so it's a little bit different than just going to like DEF CON or a B-sides or things like that. It's like strictly focused on that information gathering and, you know, maybe some of the consequences of that information gathering. It's interesting because the great afoot kind of in, you know. So one of my favorite talks that I think got awarded best talk there was a New York Times visual investigation talk where they walked through reconstructing things that they were interested in and the story of tracked down the Discord document linker. That was very interesting, and it was by granite countertops. They found a little
whoa!
queue in the granite countertops
Oh,
that
wow.
allowed them to track that guy down. In the end, that's what gave it away, was just that. And
Yeah, that
so
does sound cool.
it's like the things that we do in pattern recognition. I always bring back to pattern recognition when we're talking about like threat intelligence. It's like everything has a pattern. It's like even visual things
Yeah.
have a
Yeah.
pattern. Like it's everywhere. So
Did y'all have to take that, or I don't know if you had to. I have an East Texas high school or primary education, so like don't judge me. But did you take the was it the AFAT, whatever that test is that tells
ASVAB,
you ASFAT? What is it called?
the ASVAB.
Yeah, where it tells you like what job you should do, and it's kind of
Yeah.
military oriented. Mine
Yeah.
was Codebreaker because of pattern recognition, which at that time I didn't like actually align to cyber because cyber was not really whatever. But that's interesting. It just made your comment just made me think of that because that was.
Yeah.
I wonder how that looks today. Yeah, that's cool.
I know we should all just retake that and see what happens. Cause I mean, that's kind of what we're doing over here. Codebreaker stuff.
I mean,
Yeah.
and I totally would have pegged Glenn for like janitor. So
Okay. Remy has a great story of like, and he's tweeted about it. Like, I don't. I'm gonna mess it up, but anyway, he was able to see like a toy and see that it would fit his maybe then girlfriend, now wife's ear. So then he stuck it. Anyway, he's got like pictures of this like chain of events, but he was able to see something. And Remy's on our team, like just master of all things hacker, and was able to like see this thing laying on the table or whatever and say that's gonna fit in her ear, and then it fit perfectly. So like,
Perfectly.
did
Yeah,
did we do anything at LabsCon in particular?
we did. So me and Andrew Morris, hosted a sensor workshop. So
Ooh.
we had a little workshop where we walked through deployment of a sensor and also just what possibilities open up once you do that, especially just processing that data and you know, mostly just showing people that it's an option for information gathering.
For
And
for
it went
folks who are not like as obsessed with Gray Noise as the three of us might be, and may not actually be following us on every single episode we do, or may not be looking at the website as often as we might be posting things. What are these sensors that we're talking about again?
Oh man, Bob, putting me on the spot here for my elevator pitch. The sensors are a way that Gray Noise passively collects data on the internet. So they just hang out, they wait for something to interact with them, just listen, throw it all in a database so that we can search it and make detections off of it. But the sensor itself is just a point on the internet to observe from.
And we have new ones now, right?
We do.
And people
Brand
can
new.
run them. And people can run them. Well, not yet. Like we already have as many people running them right now as we
Some
kind of
people can
want.
run them.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but soon you too will be able to run your sensors. And Remy, as Glenn mentioned, has been cranking out profiles and personas for these sensors as well too, so they can pretend to be anything in ways that we've never been able to do before. So this is pretty exciting.
Oh, I just realized we need to bring back the maybe the oldest internet meme of the dog, like no one knows your dog on the internet. As we should license that for our new sensors and personas.
That is an ancient internet.
Right?
Yeah.
Bring it back.
Wow.
It's our marketing campaign.
That's
Nobody
super.
knows you're a Gray Noise on the internet.
Yeah, that's super old. That is just super old. Oh.
We're all
Cool.
up the place today, everyone.
we are focusing. We are getting in there. We are in the zone. Glenn, you wanted to bring this top. Oh, I need to actually show everyone what I'm talking about. Glenn, you wanted to bring this up today?
Yeah, just briefly. It's still going. This is more.
Wait, hold on. We're on a podcast now too, so we have to say what this is.
Yeah, we should say this. Okay. So we're revisiting the Move It bones. So there was two new CVEs that were announced or released or debuted in the last week. So it's just kind of the gift that keeps on giving. It's just this thing has just kind of trickled on and on and on. We're still getting disclosures and breaches from the first round, which was that May, June?
Yeah, June. Remember. It was June. Yeah, it was June.
And there was a big like a organization, like a clearinghouse for student data was announced, like a pretty big breach from the original Move It SQL injection. So more for awareness, right? Like, these things don't stop. If you're, I have a lot of questions about how that one, the student one, like, is just now coming out, because that really stinks. I mean, it all stinks, but that really stinks to have, high schoolers' information exposed, because it's just going to be out there forever and ever. But here, it's another reminder of, this job is never done. Make sure you're on top of these things. And if the organizations haven't learned from the first round that they own and need to manage Move It, then this is not going to go well again. So just the gift that keeps giving.
And props to CyberKender for the write-up on, like, at least the announcement for the write-up on this, and also for everyone. You'll see that they're both auth. Like, one require you actually have to be a sysadmin for one of them. If you do that, you actually get to see all the things. You should not, as a sysadmin, be able to see all the data from all the things that are in something. So that's a nasty one. But we're not going to have a tag for that one, and we're not going to have a tag for the other auth one just because it's auth. So we might see cred stuffing attempts at something, but we're not going to have a tag for this one. But it's definitely something that you should watch out for, because attackers have creds, lots and lots of creds.
They have creds from the first round to use for this round.
Yeah, they do, and a lot of people haven't changed those creds, unfortunately. Not cool. We'll let you two deal with this. Before you do this one, I just want to give a shout out to Okta for providing information that it wasn't just casinos that were breached with this latest round of things. There was a bunch of other ones where attackers use the same kind of methodology to do that kind of thing. But you guys want to do a follow up on the hackers who breached casino giants MGM Caesars, also hit 3 other firms?
There's a lot of interesting articles coming out now. There is, there was basically 2 incidents. One at Caesars, where, the reporting is that they paid the ransom, 15-16 million. And then the one at MGM where they did not pay the ransom, and it took them 10 days to get back to quote full operations. Or I don't know if it's full, but anyway, back to standard operations. And it's been interesting to kind of read the quote right or wrong. Like there is no right or wrong in that situation, as far as like your response. I do think it's a little interesting insight into perhaps the thinkings of the incident response teams or the leadership or whatever at those organizations, because obviously we don't want folks paying ransom. It supports bad things. It encourages more bad things. So it's just kind of I like to think of this as a kind of an insight to like management styles. I don't know if that's the right word, but just kind of like their cultures as a company.
That's exactly what I was thinking about. It was just like the cultural difference in the incident response teams, and also just like the scale difference. Like
Yeah.
nobody really talked about the Caesars one. So
Yeah.
theoretically that means there wasn't really very much like customer facing impact.
Like, would we have known if
Right.
if MGM wasn't, and also if the attackers didn't get frustrated with the reporting that was out there and came out with their own statements?
Right.
But yeah, so no, and to your point, Bob, about other breaches. I mean, other folks. Yeah, props to Okta for speaking out about it. Again, as we said 5 seconds ago, like our work is never done. Ingress is always going to be the primary target for attacker groups, whether it's through phishing, whether it's through ODAs, whether it's through unpatched perimeter devices, but really anything to get in is the key.
Yeah, and I think as Kimber said last week too, these Okta, instances within an organization, these gateways, these middle processor things, really great targets. So maybe throw some more observability onto them so that you can maybe get ahead of this. This seems to be a great way for attackers to just sit and get good information from your network. So if you're an Okta user and you do have one of those nodes inside or a couple of nodes inside your network, definitely keep an eye on them.
Yeah, telemetry is everything, right? Like, everyone's going to get breached. Every software is going to get everything. It's going to happen eventually. But if you have that telemetry to paint the story of what did happen and not have to speculate, then you're going to be obviously in a much faster position to respond, but also just a much stronger position.
Yep. Oh, speaking of telemetry, Glenn, you must have known this slide was coming. Speaking of telemetry, so we're not gonna make no jokes, none of the meme jokes, none of the things.
I'm going on mute.
I think it's impossible for any cyber person to not know that Cisco is acquiring Splunk. So this is a thing. And as someone who's been in the industry for many decades now, that's a terrible thing to be able to say. I can't believe I can say
many decades.
I have. I think I've been doing this for like three plus decades now. This never ends well. Anytime a giant corporation, I don't care if it's Cisco, I don't care if it's Oracle, I don't care who it is. Anytime some giant corporation buys something else, that something else sucks. And I will just use as a recent example, Slack. Salesforce owns Slack, and Slack is beginning to suck really bad. And I have not been tortured with the new interface yet. I can't wait till that happens to Gray Noise, so I can look at Slack even less than I do now. But this is just going to be bad all across the board. So one thing I'd be curious. Oh my gosh, Tom's on. Yeah, because Bob is old AF. Yes. So's Tom. Anyway. I think what I would be curious from folks, you can drop us a line anywhere, like our contact info is on the website, so please reach out however you want, even here. I'm curious as to if your team is investigating looking at it. If you use Splunk now, are you investigating migrating to a different platform now that Cisco is buying it and it's just probably going to suck terrible? And given Cisco's track record with security of this stuff that they have, maybe you might want to also consider leaving because of that there too. I'll just drop that. I mean, that's probably a little controversial.
I mean, Bob, what would people even go to?
The elastics. This is not an endorsement. I mean, this is Bob. This is insane, Harbor Master. The elastic stack would be something that I would suggest people move to.
I mean, that's it, right?
I think that's the only other major player. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's but I don't know. They paid like $38 billion or something. You don't pay that much money to sink a company, do you? Like, there's no precedent in people doing that, right?
Actually, from what we from some internal conversation, that's like all the free cash Cisco had on hand.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, like I know people overpay. I'm not doing a joke. I know people do overpay for using Splunk, but like they can't overpay that much to recoup that amount of money. I just can't see it.
Okay, I have to say the best joke though, which was basically.
Oh no. I'm gonna mute you.
It was cheaper to buy the company.
Oh, that's it. Out.
The point that I really like out of this is that there's a lot of recurring revenue tied up in Splunk. Like people are locked into Splunk, like especially very large entities are locked into Splunk. All of the people who are processing terabytes of data per day are locked into Splunk. And like with those consumers comes big money. And if Cisco is having issues with recurring revenue, this was a very smart purchase.
Sure. I think it'll be fine, really. I mean, it's fun to joke about, but I think it'll be fine. Like Splunk's been around for a while. Like, yeah, we all know that it's not the cheapest thing, but it's been around a while. It's been doing its thing.
It does get the job done, and it is one of the cooler. I mean, I'm not shilling. This is one of the cooler integrations that we have. We like Nick from Grey Noise does a great demo with Splunk, and the integration's slick and it works because Splunk works. I really hope Cisco doesn't tank it. I really hope they don't destroy this like they do everything else.
I guess it's like it just works tax. Yeah.
I'm just tired of everything becoming one giant mega company.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, on the bright side, they did spin off Linksys after purchasing Linksys, so maybe this will just be a thing in 5 years.
Fingers crossed.
Yeah, never know. Cool. This is a big one. I appreciate Tom joining in for some commentary. Folks that are doing like the whole comment thing should interact with Tom because Tom's brilliant. And this is an interesting story. But Dan Gooden did a great write-up in ours about this, so you can read the whole thing. We're not going to regurgitate this. This is about the libwebp. So it's a new compression format for images, and it's everywhere. Like everybody migrated to it because it reduces bandwidth. It's really great, and it reduces file size on disk. It's really helpful, especially at scale. It's great. And unfortunately, there was a vulnerability in it, and that means that there was a vulnerability in everything that uses it, including web browsers. That's frightening because we would like to have our web browsers be safe because that's the way attackers get access to us in a lot of ways. And one thing about those web browsers is there's this little thing called Electron. I absolutely despise Electron apps. I hate the fact that like Slack, which I just mentioned earlier, is an Electron. I hate them. I think they're terrible. I think they're lazy. I think the people that make them are lazy. But it's a thing because it's easier, it's quick, it's cheap to do. And this is just a handful of ones that Dan Gooden like just dropped into the article at ours. This is not comprehensive, and we'll see why in a second. It's a pretty big list. Like Signal having this vulnerability is kind of scary, kind of really scary. And I don't think anyone really surprised by these. What's interesting though is that Tom. So if you're not following Tom on InfoSec Exchange, like we're dropping all the links for all these, and did a cool utility for at least Mac folks. I mean, I don't care about Windows users because you're lost. You're just absolutely lost individuals. So the reality is like you can find some of these things. Like you can try to find outdated Electron apps, ones that aren't patched, ones that are vulnerable. Embedded Electron apps are terrible because if they don't get updated, they can be taken advantage of by anything local. And if they manage to like squirm content in there in other ways and figure out cool things, you might be in a world of hurt. So this is a cool thing that Tom put together. And of course, well, folks are running it. I will admit, Tom, I have not run this yet because I've been a little busy this week. However, this Mark Gardner, there's another link to it on there, did, and there's more. So some really cool things like Keybase and LogSeq and HTTP. HTTP is a great little HTTP tool if anyone uses it, even though it's Electron. Microsoft Teams, and Tom's got some more commentary in there, so I really encourage folks to dig into those threads. If you're not on Mastodon, you should be because it's way better than that horrible evil Nazi site. And curious as to what Kimber and that's what it is. I am stating facts. That's all I'm doing. Anyway. Thank you for the laugh commentary, Glenn. But any thoughts on the potential impact of this from you two?
Kimber?
I'm just gonna say no impact because we know Electron has pretty regular vulnerabilities and it floats around. I like this though because it's people exposing the high number of apps that do. I mean, like there were 6 things on that list that are installed on my Mac,
Yep.
so it's just
Mm-hmm.
good to know. Good to know.
It's yeah, it's
So
a. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Um, uh, yeah, I think Tom in the comment section, this is a really important point. Those were the ones in the list that Keybase, Teams, WhatsApp in particular. I could see WhatsApp being a really interesting vector for this one. And just seeing if anything happens with that.
I mean, who uses Teams? Just like, the US government and large
Well,
corporations. I mean, nothing. It's really tiny. It's a small impact, really.
that's it. And, everybody who has to interact with the government who's like, screw this, I have to use Teams, and then forgets they have Teams on their computer like me.
Yeah, that's a real thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's another, we've talked about, we've had, a handful of really, really flashy supply chain phones, and this obviously is a good example. Just kind of filters down through products that you don't know what's in it, and that kind of goes back to the hope of a software bill of materials, SBOM, initiative, so people can better know what's in their software.
Yep.
But I think one thing to call out on this one is just the fact of, if you're, when you scan for this vulnerability, to make sure that, that, because there's going to be so many different variations or how it's identified, that make sure that your vuln scanner is like actually checking for that CVE and checking for that CVE within certain packages, right? Because it gets used differently. So not
Right.
every vuln scanner is created equal when you're looking for a vuln. So you don't want some false negatives, is what I'm saying. So do your research on the check itself before you determine we are or are not impacted.
Yeah.
I think another aspect of this is you're probably not going to see just we're not going to see this on Gray Noise. And I don't think that it'll be a one-off super targeted phishing email type thing. I think it'll be part of a chain of attack more so than it's probably some kind of lateral movement and informational gathering type thing.
Yeah, and WhatsApp being affected is interesting, right? Because not as much in the it's used a lot in the US, but outside the US it's used a lot more. And you run into issues of not just updates, but bandwidth to update, a lot of different kind of socioeconomical issues that keep people from updating. So vulns like this just have kind of a longer tail and a bigger, I don't want to say bigger impact, but they just respond differently in the wider world.
More spread, a lot more
Yeah.
spread, so it's hard to see the big giant impact, but there's a lot of little impacts.
Yeah, when you're patching an edge device from in an organization, like Move It or something, okay, that's kind of well managed in theory and done by an IT team. When it's pushing out to all these tiny apps that are on billions of devices, it gets different.
And as Tom just noted, looks like there's details of another vuln patched in the same library, that's CVSS 10. Hopefully it's all together. For those that are out there that had the cross between cyber and data science, just update your Python and R libraries that depend on WebP, because they've been updated. So make sure that you update your stacks there. It shouldn't really cause a lot of impact, but it is one other way for attackers to kind of sneak their way into whatever you're doing. And if they know you're processing images as part of your analytics pipelines, you might see something there, but that'd be highly targeted. The last thing I want to say about this is, I don't know what this does to things like SBOM, and I've been a proponent of SBOM in the past, and I still think there's a lot of value in SBOM. This is going to be a component that is now vulnerable in tons of software. And this just goes to show the supply chain problem is real, it's deep, it's wide, and it's kind of insidious. And I don't know if I was someone that still managed what software comes into an organization, Like, would this be a showstopper? Like, how would I deal with this? How is the federal government going to deal with this? Because there's all their departments are supposed to start caring about SBOMs. So this just throws a wrench into that, because it's a little different than Log4j because it's client side, and that means it's a little bit harder. Like Kimber outlined all stuff, so I won't repeat everything. But I just think it calls into question some of the efficacy of the SBOM things. But maybe that's a topic for like another episode.
Big topic.
Yeah. All right. We will continue on then. This
Whoa.
did not make the round. Well, I know this red. So thank you, OpenAI, for blinding every person out here
You
that's,
are
that's watching.
glowing red, Bob, right
Yeah,
now.
I know. Yeah. Whoa, look at that. Wow, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
So this is a link to OpenAI's blog on their new red teaming network that they announced. This did not make, I did not see this hardly any places, so that's why I wanted to call it out today. If you are a red teamer, if you care about trying to make our new LLM GPT AI overlord safer, this might be something to kind of poke at, especially since like this lets you kick Microsoft around, because they are essentially OpenAI. And I would like to have these things be safer for everybody that runs them, everybody that uses them. And it would be great if people that are really good at this or want to get good at this, like poke at this. They're looking for red teamers of all kinds, not just prompt engineers or whatever. So please take a look at this if you haven't done that. If you're curious about both LLMs and red teaming, this might be a great way to go do that and maybe actually earn some coin on the side, or for full time as well too. Just because it's OpenAI doesn't mean it's a terrible thing. Like, everyone's using it, so making it safer is paramount. So I would really appreciate folks jumping on this if you can.
Yes, I want to see cool stuff come out of this, because I know it's there.
Yeah, it's got to be. Absolutely. Especially now that they have, like, you can talk to it, and like all these, like, more people are going to start using this. So the safer we can make it now, the better it's going to be for everybody in the future. So please, all you folks, direct your attention to this if you can, if you have these mad cool skills.
Or, just to our conspiracy theory roots, it's just another way to train it, like, to get more powerful.
Oh, wow.
Smarter and more powerful.
Okay, so Kimber, just like, I'm now shuddering. This is not cool. All right.
Anyways, moving on.
Moving. Okay, we'll forget. So yesterday, late-ish. I don't know. I forget when I saw this yesterday. So for folks that don't know, the Ukraine's under attack, has been for a while now. There's kind of a war going on there, and it isn't just kinetic; it's also cyber. And every so often, a couple times a year, they do an annual one, but now it's a couple times a year because this thing is going on way longer than it should. They talk about like all the cyber things that are happening against Ukraine, primarily from Russia or Russia affiliate organizations out there. So there's a blog post that the Ukraine CERT put together, and there's also a paper or a PDF report thingy. It's a great report. I wish all certs did as good of a job as the Ukraine folks are doing. Great job to those over there. I'm not just saying that because I'm part Ukrainian. We don't have time to talk about this whole thing. We might on a future one. These are the core topics. So I'm going to read the core topics for the folks that are on the podcast. So Ukraine saw twice the growth in number of incidents where the Ukraine CERT was involved in investigations and forensics. Heavy targeting of the civic and law enforcement sector for espionage by Russia and Russia-aligned entities. They're also noticing there's once a victim, always a victim. So people are becoming repeat victims of these organizations. I am not really surprised about that, given how weak it is in the rest parts of the West for like actually fixing stuff after you've had a breach. It's not great. The media sector is under constant attack. Hacking and exploiting open source mail systems is also something, and that's something I need to poke at more in our data to see exactly what we're seeing in that respect, just from our opportunistic things out there. And the energy sector. But the one I wanted to talk about today, mostly to riff off of something again, is Kimber, you have such great insights because I keep referring back to you on these things. Focus on immediate data exfiltration. And I just want to go a little bit here. I'm not going to read the whole thing. We'll make all the slides available as usual, but within 30 minutes, like there are things like stealing 21,000, stealing 21,000 documents and browser credentials. So because Ukraine CERT and the folks that they work with and the InfoSec teams there and in all of the places that need to be defended are getting so good at detection that they force the attackers to get better at exfiltration much faster. So this is a scary thing. And when when we were doing our pre-show thing on this one, I was mentioning one reason why I wanted to bring this to everyone's attention is as the war has progressed and as the Ukraine cert has begun to provide this information, there has been a direct correlation to what we are seeing everywhere else. And I keep saying the West, but it's happening everywhere, but not just here. With regard to like the same tactics just being lather, rinsed, repeated, but way faster than they ever used to. So we're seeing all of the bad people that are out there getting great exercise by doing this against Ukraine targets and Ukraine affiliated targets, and it just trickles down into what all the defenders out there have to deal with in your organizations. This speed is crazy, as Kimber was noting the other week. It's like, this compressed time frame is, I mean, it's great that we're forcing it, but it also means they're getting better at it. So I'm not sure if you two had a chance, because we literally just talked about this earlier today. We might talk about it again. I'm just curious if anything else noted from this or any parts of it that you might have had a chance to scan caught your eye on this one.
No, I didn't have a chance to scan, but just that trickle down effect is so real. Like, I am certain that we'll see the speeds of everything increasing. I've been curious a lot about dwell time in systems and if it's still useful to these state-sponsored attackers, and if it's still a matrix or if it's more of a like smash and grab kind of get what we can and get out sort of thing. And it seems, at least with Russia's tactics in particular, they are more of the let's go and just get in, get out.
I wonder, like, how much of this is, and this is not like a discredit, but like also infrastructure is just obviously unreliable in the current state. So, having long-term access to systems may not be fruitful because there may not be bandwidth or internet or electricity or whatever to where that system is hosted. So I think it kind of touches on both. Like, one, like if we get in, get what we can, because obviously they're trying to destroy everything. But then also to the point of Kimber's, like with dwell time. I mean, we're used to talking about dwell time of days, weeks, months, years, and here we're talking about 30 minutes of basically like truly like an ATM smash and grab. Like, drive the truck through the front window, grab the ATM, get out. So it will be interesting to see, especially like from other similarly like-minded countries, nation states, and their cyber methods.
Yeah, I think the books about like war tactics in this in particular are going to be so interesting in the future because, I mean, Russia and all who are associated with them are going to be like doing stuff that's more like this. And then we're going to have an entirely different set of tactics from others. And then the United States operates a different way. Obviously, it's more defensive and such.
Yeah.
The last thing I'll call out on here is they're using the trusted relationships. So once they get in within this 30 minutes, they're also using like the mail systems to disseminate malware externally to all their partner, like company partners, et cetera. So if you're not watching your outbound stuff, might want to take a look at that, especially on the mail side, because this is going to lather, rinse, repeat to every organization, because it's just going to, like Kimber said, trickle down into all the other attacker groups out there. Glenn, this was also one that you wanted to talk about today or make available to people today.
Yeah, this one's pretty recent. So I don't like have great insight on it yet. Just haven't dug deep into it, but more for awareness for our viewers and listeners on this Tuesday morning. But critical vulnerability in JetBrains. The bigger concern here is around, it's an authentication bypass, which is going to really, like, if you connect the dots, allow access to source code. So it's going to basically open users or victims up to supply chain attacks, which is, like, it's kind of Inception meta-esque vulnerability, but basically like this vulnerability allows folks to then inject supply chain attack vulnerabilities or malicious code into the CI/CD chain. So more for awareness. I think this one came out in the last few days, I think, maybe yesterday. So, if this is something that you use in your organization, which is the JetBrains Team City software, you want to definitely prioritize this and take a peek at it right away.
The interesting thing for this one, I'll be curious. So, like when the Move It stuff came out like months ago, we've seen it just a steady
Mhm.
state of folks, just more researchers digging into it, finding that there's abysmal
Yeah.
code security, and they're just ravaging it. And we just saw a couple more vulns already. I'm curious, is this going to be a resurgence of folks poking at JetBrains to see if there's more vulnerabilities inside there, and is this going to be a new rash of client side stuff in JetBrains things too?
I would absolutely expect that.
Yeah.
As folks and researchers look into this one, there's kind of two things that happen. One is folks accidentally they think they found this vuln, but they found a different one. So those get some CVEs and follow up and disclosures. And then there's obviously the folks that find the actual vuln that we're talking about here. So I would certainly expect probably both to happen on this one. But coordinated disclosure, responsible disclosure, we're big fans of that. We're all safer when we kind of share this information. So if you are digging into this and you find something else, please be responsible.
Yep,
I love
absolutely.
JetBrains.
I know
Yeah.
they have great software. I mean, that's the thing. It's great software, highly usable,
Yeah.
lots and lots and lots of install base. Like this, I'm not surprised that we're going to see this, and maybe see more.
Yeah, we can be snarky on software vendors sometimes, but it's not always just because something like this happens doesn't mean that this is throwing shade. This is just the way it is.
Yeah, and for Rust fans, they have a new beta Rust IDE that's pretty slick. I mean, it will be a commercial thing soon, but you can grab it now and try it. It's pretty fun. We're going to transition to gray noisy things, but we're going to do that in a lightweight way. So, what I'm showing for the folks on the podcast is I don't know if this made the rounds in the regular news cycles, but the New York Police Department now has a 420-pound RoboCop that's going to roam Times Square subway station, camera outfitted, everything. And what I was telling my co-host is like I prefer my RoboCops with abs. I don't know about everybody else, but and so I'm showing a picture of actual RoboCop right now.
And I said all bodies are beautiful.
And Kimber's right, but it doesn't
Yeah.
mean that I don't prefer my RoboCops with abs. That's all.
I like the giant chunky boy. I mean, if I was going to choose one to go up against in the apocalypse, giant chunky boy.
One of them's going to be a lot easier to push over. So
Yeah, exactly.
This is true.
Do you remember the? It's been several years that it was similar to the one on the left in DC when it drove itself into the pond by Watergate. Do you remember? Does anyone remember this? Right. Never mind.
I feel like I have a GIF in my head.
Yeah. So like 5-7 years ago, there was one that was roaming whatever that shopping center is by Watergate in DC and on the Potomac, and it just rolled itself into a fountain basically, and it was amazing gifts, amazing memes.
I do feel the need to show one of the comments from I think this is Twitch. Lozani, the Nightscope robot is phenomenally dumb. I will definitely agree with that concept. This could have been everything this thing is currently doing can be done with cameras, and is kind of done with cameras right now. I'm bringing it up for a couple reasons. One is that the as Kimber noted, the chunky version is actually not what's on the. If you go to the company's website. So I'm not showing for the listeners only. There's on the left hand side.
Capsule?
Yes, something on the left that looks like a SpaceX capsule, and something on the right, which is an actual Doctor Who Dalek, and they're a little too close together for me, like in terms of like the thing. So I get why they beefed it up or chunked it up, to use Kimber's words, for the deployment in NYPD. Oh wait, hold on. I do need to do this. This is hilarious.
We both all get.
So there was the one at the Samsung office I worked at, and it would get stuck on like wet leaves. Okay.
Oh man, someone try it, please.
Yeah. Yeah, this is interesting. I will just relate a story. Back at Johnson & Johnson, this is old, going back to old job. We did have a MAIL robot, nowhere near as like cool looking as this particular one, and it did require to actually put this invisible tape strip on, but it delivered the mail, and it did deliver it. Well, I don't think this thing could probably deliver the mail as well as that thing probably did, or whatever.
I just am so like doomed whenever we start getting look at these things, and I'm like, oh, it's like a cute little friend. Like I pack bond with the robots immediately. I'm just like, you're thinking of knocking this thing over. I'd feel so bad for it, except for those like messed up dogs.
Have guns on them now, so thanks for that, everybody. Yeah,
like the second these things get guns, I'm out.
Yeah, and those dog robots are AI self-controlled now too, so we can
Yeah.
actually the military can send out packs of them to go kill people. It's great.
Yeah, whoever came up with that was like messed up. That's scary.
They just like money. So transitioning to gray noise stuff because we're already the show's going along a little. We have 5 tags last week. Most of these are due to our new cool data science driven early warning detection system, which we're
Our
still
version
not.
of the robot.
Our
Our
version of
robot.
no weapons involved in this one, as far as I know. We can ask Howdy. You never know. Howdy might have weapons. I have no idea. So these are some ones that are out there. Yeah, it could be. So definitely take a look. So it's a Cisco one, Apache Roller, OGNL injection. This is. I'm amazed at what this early warning detection system is finding out there. Things that we never would have seen otherwise. So we're making things safer. Most of these go back into the same thing of like these are things that will help keep the Mirai botnet all functioning for quite some time because there's just new things out there. So definitely take a look at those things. And if you use any of that tech, just go to our Gray Noise Trends site and view the recent, and you can see those things. We're not going to talk about trends in general at all today. I'm showing a picture of all of our trends, which you can go to the trends thing on Gray Noise, the Viz, to see that. This has been a calm week. That's one reason for the backdrop. When you can see me again, I have it. It's a very calm. It's more of a building time for the folks that are botnet herders. They're just doing what they do to keep all their nodes in sync and get new ones and fight each other for ones, etc. Nothing really major going on unless I missed something that you two might have caught when I was poking at some things.
The one that I am keeping my eye on in a perpetual sense, but that I'm actually sort of seeing a little bit of a rise this week, open proxy scanners.
Ooh, okay.
Yeah. Just educate yourself on open proxy scanners. That's my advice to the masses.
Because a lot of folks are using like reverse proxies, and if you misconfigure that just a little bit, it's really easy to become part of these things. And there's a lot of companies out there who run proxy networks that use these things to look for them. So then that's how they proxy stuff through, and they're making money off.
It's a good way to get a knock at the door that you weren't expecting.
It is probably by one of those robots too. You never know.
Just put some wet leaves in front of your doorstep.
Yeah, there you go. We will stop them with that. So thanks, Todd. I get to yell at Todd directly now. It's awesome having someone. I can yell at somebody at CISA. It's been 1 day since the last Kev release, and it's a nothing burger for us because I'll get to them in a second. Just because it's mostly client side stuff, but. Glenn wanted to make a big deal out of Kev 1000. What is this Kev 1000, Glenn?
I mean, I don't know about a big deal. I want to say, like, it's 1000. It's like it's a milestone, I guess, in some sense. But they had a blog which Todd actually
contributed to. Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. And I thought the blog was pretty good. I more kind of want to highlight the actual blog itself because they do point out like the criteria for something being on the Kev, which was not new information. They've had that publicly available for a while, but it is, like it has to have a CVE, obviously, so that you can track it. If it doesn't, they'll help you get one. Evidence of exploitation, which is the EV or the known exploitation of the Kev. And then it has to have some kind of way of fixing it, some mitigation or patching. And so, just kind of a good reminder of the 3 major criteria for something to be on the Kev. But then they had some stats, which, we like to have fun with different vendors and CISA and whatever. And we're strong partners with CISA, of course. Like, it's all in good fun. But there were some cool numbers that they pointed out, which I need to read because I didn't memorize them. But essentially, like, because they have like a directive attached to the Kev for the federal agencies to actually take, if it's on the Kev, they have a deadline to take action. And so it shows like a 72% decrease in the number of Kevs that were exposed for 45 or more days. So 45 is still a long time to be exposed, but that's not the takeaway. The takeaway is there's 72% less that are exposed that long. So that's awesome. That's amazing work. Yeah. That's great. That's good for everybody. And let's see, there was the mean time to remediate Kevs was an average of 9 days faster than for non-Kevs.
Wow.
So, that's a little over a week. That's a big decrease in available.
That's huge. That's absolutely huge.
Purpose. So, there's some takeaways there where, we can poke fun at our disagreements, and of course, like there's no right or wrong, or there's no way to please everyone is a better way of putting it. But do want to take a moment, give us a props. This is moving things in the right direction. They also kind of dive into some improvements that they want to make, such as like notating whether something is going to be, or if it's being exploited by ransomware actors or something, right? So that just helps folks with prioritization. So it's no secret that Gray Noise itself is focused on how do we help folks prioritize. The Kev is focused on how we help prioritize. Like everything is basically prioritization for this field. And every little nugget of information that helps an organization make that decision better is welcomed and encouraged. So I just kind of wanted to give them a shout out for sharing that information. Thanks for the great work. Definitely, we're not done. They're not done. No one's done. But yeah, so cool.
Well, they might be done.
Yeah, this is quite concerning.
Yeah, so for folks that aren't aware, like the SysTechEv is an actual government thing. And politics aside, there's a very real chance that the government will do a shutdown for some length of time. Hopefully not long, hopefully not at all. Just talking to Todd on Mastodon the other day, and it looks like it will impact Kev if this happens. So if you rely on Kev for your like vuln news and caring about vulns and patching vulns, maybe have some augmented processes if this does in fact happen for an extended period of time. Just keep an eye out there. We'll do our best as well to keep an eye on stuff because we don't only rely on Kev, but like we love and care about Kev as Glenn was saying. But make no mistake, this is a possibility that this will actually happen. If and when it does, you might not have information. And these are there's like 5 vulns since last time we talked to everybody, and you can go read them on the Kev list. I don't believe we're going to have, Glenn, correct me if I'm wrong, we're not going to have tags for like any of these.
No. The MinIO, I can't recall the details. I know we were researching it. The other 4 definitely not.
Yeah. So no scrambling from at least having to see what we have going on with Kev on those things for everybody else out there. So, and you know what? We have been so wrong with all of our predictions. We're done. We're not doing it. We're just not doing it. So normally we would do like, hey, like how many Kev next week? But honestly, like there may not even be a Kev next week, right? Because of the government shut. So I think we can table that for a while. So we'll have to come up with a new closing shtick. But beyond that, Kimber, any closing? There you go.
Oh, there we go.
Best quote of the episode is "All bodies are beautiful, but I like the giant chunky boy robot." I like it. That's perfect.
Nailed it.
There you go.
Perfect.
Awesome. So Kimber, got any parting words for everybody, especially our podcast listeners?
I'm just gonna say, learn more about open proxy scanners. Not for any particular reason, just because I think they're really interesting.
Kimber's making me nervous. I don't know.
I know.
You should be nervous. If Kimber says it, take it seriously, everybody.
Yeah,
Glenn,
yeah.
would you not take Glenn serious about anything? But Glenn, what is your parting comments for folks, especially podcast listeners? Hi, podcast listeners.
Yeah. Man, I don't feel like I have any like super insightful things. It's been a nice like. Well, I'm not gonna complete that sentence.
Yeah, don't. You jinx it. You don't. You dare.
I didn't finish the sentence. It's fine. So yeah, just yeah, enjoy it? Question mark.
Cool.
Be cool.
Hug a robot.
Yeah, hug a robot. Yeah. I wish I found a picture of that robot I was talking about. I wish I could just throw it up here, but yeah. Anyway.
Cool.
The wet leaves for me. Actually, that's my takeaway from the
wet leaves are the ultimate protection against all of these.
Have you ever tried to walk on wet leaves?
Like, hard.
I live in Maine. That's a thing. Like like for half the year. So yes. So anyway, so everyone press mash down the subscribe buttons.
Subscribe.
Yeah, subscribe, download all the things, especially the podcast. Let us know how it's working. Generally, the podcast will be up sometime, hopefully later today. I'll be working with Ashley on that, and maybe we'll talk about how we do that in the future.
Are we supposed to plug Brooklyn and Sheets or something? Aren't we supposed to have ads now? I don't know how this works.
Yeah, sure. I mean, sure. We will adify all the things. Perhaps Cisco will toss some ads on to it.
Yeah, I don't think that.
Yeah, probably not gonna happen. Better help.
It just cool.
Wow.
All right, well, thank you both for making the time to do this today. Thank you, Ashley, for the coordination. Overwatch is amazing, and we will catch everybody on the next Stormwatch.
Bye.
Cheers.